my frequency in my life. And then I can ask for what I want, like, the opposite of it, or whatever is in my heart. And I never, I don't hear energy being addressed in anything. I always hear it's about going through the intellect. And I don't know if you can address that.
I think you need both. I mean, definitely, it's all energy. We're talking about the spirit, we're talking about the kohot of the soul. It's all energy. The thing is, I think it's the yichud of Chachma and Bina. Like, or the male and the female principle. The female is the energy intuitive, but there has to be a yichud with the limud, the wisdom of the teachings. So that's, there's many, including many big rebbeim, including the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who says the Geula is going to come through the women. Why? Because we have to translate it down to the body level, to the malchut, to the energy level. But we need the limud, and the most things have been written by very great men, But now, it definitely has to come together, and one doesn't negate the other. They come together. That's the yichud we're working on. So, God willing, you were able to receive something from your. I'm sure you go to other teachings too that you can incorporate into your energy.
Yeah, work. I start to understand one from the other.
Right.
When I started with yoga, I started to understand Judaism a little bit more, And so, it's kind of all one, just a different way of getting there, I think.
I work with movement therapy based on there's 12 Everim, 12 body parts. It's called in Kabbalah has 12 basic units of the body, parallel to each month of the year. They're limbs and also organs, so it's called Everim. So I call them body parts because you can't say they're limbs or organs. So this is a new system, and actually Miriam's going to be learning that with me. And I do therapy on opening up the spiritual avoda of each part of our body. So it's very energetic, but it's all based on a lot. And this book, which took me 12 years to write, and I did a lot of research from books written by men, right? But bringing it a step further. I opened up in Issachar and I said, what? Chodesh Nisan, the right leg, wow, what's this about? But, so I really worked on it more and more, and...
Who started this movement?
Which movement?
That you're talking about right now?
Well, I wouldn't call it a movement. I did a lot of research on the 12 tribes in the 12 months of the year.
Oh, I thought you were saying there was a movement.
Oh, no, yeah, it came to me from writing this book, movement therapy, based on...
That you began?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what you weren't clear about. You began a movement therapy movement.
So when you connected with Nissan and that was the right leg, what did you do?
Well, that would be if you want to come for a session.
You come back next time.
Right. God willing, in the future we can learn that from Miriam, because she's going to be studying intensely with me. When I come back, I'm willing to do also.
Ask you a question. Do you think Jewish men are more lost than Jewish women? Honestly, do you think Jewish men are completely lost, out of their minds? They have no idea where they are, and that's why...
Only some.
Okay.
Just you.
Thank you. I love you more than anything in the whole world. Thank you so much. Do that once a day. That'd be great.
It was a joke.
Honestly, no one's getting married. The women are crying for men. The men are nowhere. The men are not here tonight. The men are not crazy. You want to meet women, you come to a class where women are. There's nobody here. The men are completely lost. I believe the Yetzaharas are completely in control. Completely. Mm-hmm. And I believe the reason why it is so, they're not learning this deep stuff. They're not learning Likutei Maharan. They're not learning Tanya. They're not learning any of this stuff. Why? Daf Yomi, Shulchan Aruch. They're gone and lost.
You have to have inner Torah.
Like learning for the sake of learning. It's,
no,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Listen, it's beautiful.
What do you come upon in all your travels? I believe right now the Bali Tshuva movement is dead, if you ask me. There's very few Bali Tshuvas running around. It's mostly tons of people converting into Judaism. I used to have 100 people at my class, 50 people. People stopped coming.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe more nervous.
Can I ask you
something?
Wait,
Oh, wait,
that's
let
one
me
I-
just think. I don't know how to
What do you
answer.
see-
I'm
what do
trying
you
to
see about men now, today's Jewish man? Where is he? And if they were on target, would more women be getting married to these men? Why are there so many single women? What do you see?
It's a very
You think the
painful.
men are completely lost?
I think we're all struggling, but I wouldn't say that as categorically that men are lost. I don't know. I'll just tell you. It's funny. I was thinking of there are times when I do teach men, not often. In the Orthodox world, that's an acceptable thing, and I felt like if there was a lot of men here tonight, I would approach everyone like I want to be approaching you like. My second name is Nisara, like an imaot. Like we all need fathers, we all need mothers,
Right.
and the men need spiritual mothers, and they don't have that much opportunity to get to sit in Sarah and Mina's tent, and get the woman's Torah. And I think I once met some husbands of women I've been teaching in Israel, and they really wanted to learn some of the movements. They wanted to bring it down more, the teachings down, and I did as easily as possible. I felt was fine. I taught them, and I could see the hunger for it. That there's a need for more of a. I'm not saying it only can come from women. It comes from men who are in touch with their feminine. Because we all have both, and the men are not in touch with their feminine enough. That's the problem. And therefore, the women have to be overcompensate and become too much of their masculine. I talk about a lot this in my last book. There's a real balance of the masculine and feminine. First, each one has to find within themselves the balance of the masculine and feminine, and then
This is as old as the
I know.
world.
This
Of course, it's not
yeah.
Jewish. This is like
This is
This
universal.
goes back to Jung and Plato and.
This goes back to Adam
Goes-
Rishon.
It goes back to the beginning
No,
of
the
the whole
Zohar-
knowledge of the balance of male and
It starts
female.
with Adam and Hava were one,
Right.
and they both have masculine and feminine. But a healthy situation is that a woman has more of a feminine energy. Not they still have their masculine, and the man has to have a little more of the masculine. There's a lot to say about that. I talk about it in my third book.
The famous Babich Rebbe statement, why did the women's movement start in America? Because the men were not men.
Because the men were not men. That's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said? Wow.
Printed document.
Well, don't you think the male and the female, what we're talking about, we want equal opportunity, but men and women are not the same.
Really?
And it's a balancing of the opposites. When you're in a marriage, it's a union, and it's a coming together, and you're complementing one another with your differences, and you're, hopefully the sum is greater than the parts,
Well, Rabbi
because
Ginsburg-
you're in a holy union.
Mhm.
And I think that people are so much into themselves that they
Right.
think that it would be too much trouble to, I mean, I was married for over 20 years, and God willing, we can, okay, so.
Amen.
But it's.
For more than 20 years.
You have to be willing to, I guess, go through a certain self-nullification, not negate yourself, but you can't be number 1, 2, 3. You have to actually accommodate the other person and say, what can I receive and what can I give and how can we
Right,
work
right,
together?
right.
And that's a balancing, that's the opposite.
Well, actually, Rabbi Ginsburg said the Mashiach was really a couple where the masculine side of the woman is complemented by the feminine side of the man. That's I love that definition. And also within ourselves, there has to, be that complementary and supporting, mutual support.
I think that a lot of men that are single, they don't want to get married because they're loving themselves more, not allowing a woman to love them, so they love themselves. And that's where this disease of self-absorption comes from. That is the biggest ill, I believe, in our
It comes
world
from the
today.
secular world.
Selfishness and
Like
stuff
a
like that. Yeah, narcissism. and all
It's
that
coming
stuff.
from the secular
And
world.
like pornography is just completely out of control.
Mm.
And I have a lot of girls who are friends. There's no guys. I'm doing my best to try to give over like chassidut and stuff, but I like to have some advice.
David, in the secular world, I teach college at CUNY. I've been doing surveys in my classes because we're talking about gender identity and all this stuff. And I'll tell you, last semester, not one man had marriage as a life goal. It's true, there are very few Jews.
It's different out there in the secular
But the
world.
point is, it wasn't even a goal, and only a few of the women did. But when I asked if they wanted children, most of the women did and a few of the men did. And they said, we don't need husbands. They looked at the men and went, we don't need husbands.
Right.
And I know, okay, so this is a secular or Christian group primarily, but still that attitude has permeated our society to such an extent.
The Orthodox world also.
It's got, we live here on, you know, well, I don't live on the west side, but most people live on the west side, and I think it has permeated the Orthodox community also. Although I think you made the point of Hasidut. In the Hasidic community, people are getting married.
You know why? Because learning Hasidus
Yeah.
helps you nullify the ego enough to let someone in.
That's true.
Like that's the tikkun ani. That's why it is so important to learn the
I also
Hasidut.
believe that also that you see homosexuality is exploding right now in the world, and it's because of a complete imbalance of sexuality in the individual, and it's exploding. And I think obviously the last tikkun might be sexuality. I don't know. I mean that was the original
That's
sin,
what Rebbe
right?
Nachman
I wouldn't say
says.
sin, but that was the original.
Usually it's that these last generations, tikkun yesod, which is
Oh, wow. That what?
Tikkun of sexuality.
tikkun yesod. Yeah, that's why he's, you know, the tikkun klali is such a big thing among Breslovers, like the 10 psalms we say to rectify. So
One time I asked Abraham Sutton, what is this explosion of homosexuality? And he was about to talk, and everybody just chimed in, and it never happened.
that's a whole other topic, and very sensitive for those who
I understand.
have bought into it. You know, it's. I've had the biggest explosions when I've challenged, you know, this subject with other people who are not religious, and people get very defensive, and you have to learn very deeply to understand what this male-female principle. The fact that all of these higher worlds we were hopefully tasting through this last hour or so, all the time these yichudim are being made, and this is what we're here to do, is to keep making these unifications of the masculine, feminine principle, Chachma and Bina, you know, Hasid Gevura, you know, Yesod Malchut, all these we need to learn more about it. Like if we, everything, one of the basic principles of Kabbalah is what one person does affects the klal. So the more we learn, more deeply we learn, the more we get a grasp of these understandings. What do I know? What do I understand about Yichudim and the masculine, feminine concepts? The more I learn deeply, the most I can do, God willing, will help. You know, metaphysically shifts. You know, we can't just work on those levels, but those who can should, and then whoever has the voice to teach, to affect the population, then that's everybody has to find their role and what they can do to rectify the situation. But the Torah is the mamutza that brings the light down, the Ein Sof here. And that's the thing. The Torah has the gedurim. The Torah has the boundaries. How to to create. What boundaries do we create to bring Ein Sof down here? And it's between man and woman. That's the boundary. That's the relationship. That's the sexual relationship that the Torah says is kosher to allow, or Ein Sof to come down. Not. It says a pshat. It's like the translation is like it's an abomination. Now you say that to someone who is involved, either their neshamas is going to say, yeah, it's true, and I'm going to change my way, or they're going to just turn away and hate you for saying it. It's like, and it's a chance you have to say, but you have to speak the truth. So people today, if we speak our truth, we're not going to we'll maybe touch souls very deeply and maybe help other people, but we'll probably make enemies in the meantime. But that's our work here is to do our best, and try to talk from love, and we have a big task here.